Hello everybody, welcome to the Saturday edition of This Day. I'm here at the desk, as always on a Saturday. It's July 11th. Welcome to the program. Hope you're enjoying a great weekend, and we've got a great show for you, so let's get right to it. We're going to be taking care of you guys from the neck up today. That's where most of my problems are. Dr. John Hovhannissian is going to be here from Harvard Eye Associates. We're talking about eye health. And then Dr. Peter Abbas, dentistry in Laguna Woods. He's going to be here talking about restorative dentistry. What's that, you may ask, said Michael. We'll find out when he gets here. It's a little secret. You'll have to stay tuned. That's going to be later in the program. Right now, though, we want to keep you informed. And guess who's coming to town? Pat Boone's daughter, Lindy, is going to be here. She's going to be here for a show on July 30th at 3 p.m. over at 19 Restaurant. It's free for folks who are members and $5 for non-members. Lindy Boone, daughter of Pat Boone, of course, will share her family's personal journey with her son, Ryan. She'll also perform and answer audience questions. So there you go. It's brought to us by the Springboks, and you can get information about the show there at the bottom of the screen, either through the email or a phone number there at the screen. Lindy Boone coming right here to the village. Looking forward to that one. Let's look forward to our weekend weather because we got some nice temperatures. On the warm side, for sure. We're going to have temperatures in the 80s. You head towards Sunday and Monday, but 77 today. So it's going to be the coolest day we've had for a while. Most of you had 80s for a little while here, but looks like 77 today, 81 for tomorrow, and then in the mid to upper 80s by the time we get to Wednesday. So enjoy the coolish temperatures right now as we head for a little bit of a heat wave in the middle of the week. Let's take a look at our sunrise, sunset. Beautiful picture here, right here in Lake Forest Sports Park. They have a little fountain out there. I've been over there. And they have that butterfly garden over there. Dave Southworth, thank you for sending us this picture. Sunrise this morning is 5:49. Sunset tonight is going to be 8:03. If you have a picture you'd like to send us, we'd love to see it. Email them to us, lagunawoodsvillagetv@gmail.com. Make sure you include your name and where you took the picture. We haven't seen a good pet picture for a while. Send us those dog and cat pictures. I love them. Send them to us, and we will put them on the show. You'll be in our sunrise and sunset segment. Okay, folks, going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll be talking to Dr. John Hovhannissian.
Your eyes let you see the world, every smile, every sunset, every moment.
At Harvard Eye Associates, our team of specialists is here to protect your vision.
From cataracts and glaucoma to retina and cornea care, we offer the latest treatments with a compassionate touch.
For over 50 years, you've trusted us with your eyes. We're honored to care for them for years to come.
Harvard Eye Associates, the future of vision today.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm super excited. We've got a few new updates and amazing things happening in the world of eye care. Welcome, Dr. Hovhannissian with Harvard Eye Care.
Good to see you again, Bree.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here, as always.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're so pleasant, and I learn a lot from you.
Well, that's our goal, is to help keep everybody up to date on what's happening with their eyeballs and in the world of eye care.
Gosh, you know, if we didn't have our sight, it would be
Crucial.
A loss.
Crucial to everything, to enjoying life, to being productive, to having ties to other people, to being safe, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think sometimes we take it for granted, right?
Yep, absolutely we do. And taking care of those eyes is important. And there's lots of great, new, exciting science and things that are happening in the world of eye care. Some that is relevant to everybody, some that's a little bit, more niche. But I thought we'd, maybe talk today about some of those types of topics.
Well, I love the first one because I've never heard of this. New eye drops help people reduce their need for reading glasses.
Isn't that neat? The idea that we might not need little reading glasses to see up close.
You have a little skeptic over here.
Well, in fact, they do work, and there are now there are going to be 4 drops that are FDA approved. Now there are 4 drops that are FDA approved for this specific purpose, and a 5th one that's on the way, which tells you that the industry is serious about it. It is a big problem, So what are we talking about? The problem that happens as if you're born and you have normal sight as a kid, you don't need glasses. Chances are in your mid-40s, you'll start, this will be long in the future for you, Bree, you'll
about
start
20 more years.
That's right. So at some point, you're going to start to have trouble reading up close, and you'll want to hold things further away, and that's called presbyopia, and it just happens because the lens in the eye loses its flexibility. And so we need reading glasses, right? Or at least that's one solution. We can wear contacts or have bifocals or other things. But these drops, they work by making the pupil of the eye smaller. And so in optics, if you remember a pinhole camera, if you were in grade school and you made a pinhole camera back in the day, you don't need a strong lens if you have a small aperture, a small opening. So by making the pupil smaller, we get better, better focusing up close. Simple, really. Optically, it's a simple concept.
Obviously, it's a temporary effect, right?
It is a temporary effect. It's not permanent. There have been no success trying to make a permanent effect this way. But, and that's probably a good thing, because if you make the pupil small, it can have some side effects in like nighttime driving, where with less light coming into the eye, it can be a little bit dim, and that can be a side effect of these. Typically, we use them in the morning, and then they last throughout the workday. Sometimes a second dose is necessary, depending on the specific drop. And for many people, they reduce, I won't say eliminate, but or reduce the need for reading glasses. So if you're going into a meeting, or you're going out to lunch with friends, you don't have to reach for your reading glasses when the menu comes around, or you can, see the reading material in front of you. And they actually often improve distance vision just a little bit too.
Who would be a good candidate for something like that?
Great candidate. Great candidates are people who are obviously have a need for reading glasses. Those who have healthy eyes. Those who typically have an exam, and we like to look at the retina to make sure it's healthy as well before we give a drug like this. But between, let's say, age 40 and 55. Once you get past 55, some people are still great candidates, but often the effect is not quite strong enough to work. And after 55, we often have a little bit of cataract that's starting to form in the eye, even though it's not a real significant cataract. Right. That's a clouding of the lens of the eye that can make those drops just not work as well. But anybody can try them after a proper exam. They are a prescription item. They require a doctor's prescription to have, because they are real medicine. But they work. They actually work.
Any long-term side effects?
Not that we know of. Nothing that is concerning. They've been studied out to a year in the FDA studies. However, these are drugs, they're based on drugs that have been FDA approved and around for a very long time, because we used to use these types of drugs until we had better ones for glaucoma. So we've had many patients, millions probably, or hundreds of thousands, on these types of drugs for many years in a lot of cases. So that's one of the reasons that eye doctors are not too afraid of them. We think they're pretty safe.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, Mandy.
Okay, let's move on to your next subject, macular degeneration.
Yeah, we've got kind of a mix of things. We go from reading glasses to macular degeneration. Well, the leading cause of legal blindness among people over 65 is a condition called macular degeneration, where the back of the eye, the retina, is damaged mostly by just aging changes. We know that genetics plays a role, and UV light plays a role. Diet can play a role. Smoking can, make it worse. But this condition can, at the beginning, just start to degrade vision in a little bit. And there are different forms of it. There's what we call a wet form and a dry form. And what's really most new is what's happening in the dry form of the disease, where we did not previously have a treatment. We used to just kind of have to watch those patients. And so what we now have are some medications that help slow the progression.
But I do see the word injection here, and that scares me a lot.
Yeah. So it's a scary thing to think about an injection near the eye.
You're actually injecting
it? Yeah, that's right. And it is. And those who have the wet form of macular degeneration are probably well aware that, and probably undergoing treatments with injections in the eye. It's actually not painful. It's not a pleasant thought.
No,
but it is actually,
not at all. Even if I were in your shoes, I don't think I could do that to somebody.
It is. Well, I mean, after 16 years of training, you can do a lot of things. But the idea that that you can stop the progression of this disease is meaningful. It can be the difference between seeing and recognizing, your grandchildren and not. Being able to write a check for yourself.
I guess that's worth a needle in the eye then.
And yeah, that's right. And although it's a slowly progressive disease, we now have hope. And as these drugs continue to evolve, we expect them only to get better. We're working toward those that don't involve injections. We're working toward those that have other benefits of lasting longer and working better. So it's an exciting time, even though it's just the beginning for those drugs.
Right. So we went from the front of the eye, the pupil, to the back of the eye.
Yeah. That's right.
Right. Now, does that have any effect on vision as well?
Absolutely. Well, controlling macular degeneration certainly does.
Because
It
that's
does
the
not
number one
affect so
cause
much
of-
the focus of the eye, so it wouldn't alter or change your need for reading glasses if you had treatment for macular degeneration. But it certainly would help us to, to preserve our vision and our potential to see well. So it's an important advance.
It's very important. How often are you recommending your patients come in and get an annual exam? I just answered my own question. But how often do you recommend your patients come in?
Yeah, typically if you have, if you're over 40, the American Academy of Ophthalmology recommends an annual eye exam.
Oh, it is annual.
And, for some who have real healthy eyes, every 2 years is probably safe. Certainly annually, and maybe more often if you have any disease in your eyes or other diseases like diabetes that can affect the eyes, or you're borderline diabetic. It's important to have your eyes examined. And so, we recommend it for everybody because it's not too unusual that we detect diseases in the body first in the eye. They say the eye is the window to the soul. The eye is also the window to the blood vessel system and the neurologic system, and we can see a lot that's happening at early stages.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's important to keep on top of healthy eyes.
And I suppose that would help you if there was any cataracts
Sure.
forming. It would
Absolutely.
help you see those probably at very early stages.
Yeah, that's right. When cataracts form, often it's very few symptoms or no symptoms in the beginning, and that's fine. Nothing needs to be done about it. But as they advance, it's an important disease that really can affect our ability to drive after dark, to read fine print, to see low contrast in low contrast dim environments. And so there's treatment for it. Fantastic treatment.
And cataracts is the film that forms over
In the lens of the eye.
in the
A
lens.
clouding. It's actually more like in the material of the lens itself, not so much a film that we remove as an actual, clouding of the material in the lens that God gave us when we were born. And so how do we fix it? We replace that lens with a new lens. And that's where we have many of our newest advances as well in eye care, is in those lens implants. So.
And do those lenses actually help you see better, or does it just restore where they were?
No, in fact, it's a common sort of myth. People think that if I go through cataract surgery, I will see better, but I will have the same vision I did before. So I'll go back to my old glasses, or I'll not need glasses if I didn't need them before. And none of that is true. If you change the lens of a camera, it sees differently, right? Mm-hmm. And if you change the lens in your eye, the same thing happens. So we now have a whole variety of lenses, implants, that we use that can set the vision more or less the way we want it. And it is permanent at that point, because the part of our eye that changes throughout our adult life that may alter the way we see is the lens inside. Mm-hmm. Once it's replaced with a synthetic lens, it never gets cloudy again, or the vision never changes. There can be a follow-up procedure. Cataract surgery only happens once, but occasionally, about 50% of the time, within 10 years after cataract surgery, there can be a cloudiness that forms behind the lens implant. But the same lens implant will stay in the eye. We just do a very simple laser treatment and open that membrane, and then vision's restored. So for your listeners, for your viewers, if you have had cataract surgery in the past and vision isn't as good as it used to be, come in to see your doctor, because there might actually be a very quick fix.
Yeah, and so you're saying that's behind the lens that you replaced.
Yeah, that's a film that forms behind the lens, and that's fixed with a 3-minute laser treatment covered by insurance, and highly and almost instantly effective.
Wow.
Cool stuff, right?
Amazing stuff. Okay, so one more thing that's not on your talking points that you sent in.
Sure.
Talk to me about eyes that water constantly, because now I'm like having to get here early in the morning and trying to keep makeup on, and my eye keeps watering. I'm like,
yeah, and that makes it tough for everything.
What is going on?
Sure. Well, so one of the commonest causes of our eyes watering, believe it or not, is dry eye. And that sounds backwards, doesn't it?
It sounds backwards.
But in fact, the eye waters often as a result of irritation. Irritation often comes as a result of not having adequate natural lubrication on the eye. So we should all have a baseline level of tears in our eyes. And if that becomes low, as it does when we're on screens for a long time and we haven't slept well enough, or we're dehydrated, or many other conditions, that level of tear supply goes down to the point where the eye then gets irritated. And then what does it do? It floods with tears. So now, I don't see your eyes watering one little bit right here while you're comfortable and blinking at a normal rate and all of that. But if your eyes get dry and irritated, then
and is that typically happens in the morning?
Dry often bothers people in the morning, because just like we haven't kind of gotten up, our tear supply hasn't formed yet. It also occurs late in the day. You'll also notice this same kind of watering when you go outside. So you're indoors where there's no air currents, you go outside, it's windy, or you've got the defroster blowing in your car,
yes.
and your eyes get a little dry and irritated, and suddenly they're watering, you can't see, and you're wiping, and all of that. And we've got lots of great treatments for dry eye,
good.
all sorts of wonderful things. You can start with lubricant drops before so maybe early after you get out of bed, you take some lubricants so they don't get irritated, and they actually may water. So do that before the makeup, obviously, and then you may be more comfortable for quite a long time.
Okay.
Lots of cool stuff, Bree.
I know. Dr. Havanazy and I could talk to you for an hour. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much for joining me.
It's a pleasure, Bree. Thanks
Appreciate it.
very much.
You're watching This Day on Village TV. We'll be back in a moment.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Abbas. For over 20 years, I've been helping families keep their smiles healthy and bright. 10 years right here in Laguna Woods. At our family-owned practice, we do it all. Preventative care, digital dentistry, and full smile makeovers. With a team you know and trust. Conveniently located at the Taj Mahal Medical Center with shuttle access for our Laguna Woods neighbors. Come experience complete care, old-fashioned service, and state-of-the-art dentistry that feels like home.
From Dr. Peter Abbas, DDS Inc., we are going to talk about restorative dentistry with the man himself, Dr. Abbas. Thank you for joining us today.
Nice to be here again, yeah.
So restorative dentistry, to me that, it's kind of a general term for a lot of stuff, right? So what is restorative dentistry in general?
In general, restorative dentistry is basically a way to fix teeth, whether they're damaged from cavities or cracks or chips or lost completely. Basically, it's the practice of fixing those teeth and restoring them back to their original form and function.
Right, so I mean, we're talking when we have a filling, hey, we have some cavity here, we need to replace a filling, that's basically that's our baseline for restorative dentistry, right?
It is, and it's kind of, there's no, a lot of people think of things as like, filling, crown, there is kind of this gray zone in between. So a lot of people out there, I'm sure, have had fillings, a lot of people out there have had crowns. There's also things called onlays, which a lot of people don't know about. I do quite a bit of those. So if fillings were on one end of the spectrum and a crown is in the other, teeth fall into a gray zone oftentimes where there's a problem with a tooth, for example. It's too difficult to fix with a filling, but maybe a crown is too aggressive. So these partial coverage restorations, also known as onlays, really do a great job. So in situations like that, where we just take out the bad parts of the tooth, keep as much of the good tooth as possible, and create a little puzzle piece, looks like a little 3D puzzle piece, fits precisely into that space, and is able to fix the tooth up in full strength and function. So
now, in the old days, that would maybe be somebody have a specialist would be doing those filings. Or are you doing more of those things with AI and you're doing 3D printing with those kinds of things today?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate in that I've been using great technology in my office that allows me to make partial crowns, onlays, full crowns, veneers, bridges, using the technology in my office, same day in my office.
Okay.
So I've been using it for 20 years. And technology is wonderful. It uses an intraoral scanner to actually scan someone's mouth and teeth so that they can have the restoration made all in one day.
Okay.
So again, I've been doing that for 20 years. Great technology, avoids that second appointment, avoids us having to deal with a temporary restoration, avoids having to have that impression, that putty stuff that goes into your mouth that no one likes.
Right.
So we don't have to deal with any of that in my practice. We do it all with digital scanners. Really makes for a much easier visit, and not just that, but quite a bit more precision involved with it as well. It's much more precise, being that it's done digitally.
So gone are the days of put this temporary crown on, we'll come back in 2 weeks, hopefully that doesn't pop off in the meantime.
Exactly.
And then we'll see if it fits when we come back, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, I again, doing it all same day streamlines the process considerably, precision fit. I mean, most of the time I'm getting those crowns out of the machine and putting them in, maybe a little minor adjustment, but it's just, the fit is so impeccable compared to the old-fashioned way of doing things.
Right. And for folks who haven't maybe been to a dentist for a while, they've been avoiding those. Are some folks surprised at wow, I didn't, when back last time I was at the dentist, that kind of thing?
I mean, even patients who have seen a dentist are saying that, patients who are new to my practice, because A lot of dentists are still doing the old-fashioned way.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been doing it this way since 2006. Of 20 years. Obviously, the technology's evolved. I tell people it's kind of like an iPhone. Back when the first iPhone came out, it was cool and great, but it's come such a long way. Same thing with the technology that I use here to make these restorations in the office.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we talk about restorative and then we kind of cross over to cosmetic, what is the difference in terms of, like, let's say a veneer in the front for a cracked tooth as opposed to I just want them to look better?
So there's different ways of fixing teeth cosmetically. Sometimes for some situations, we could put a little bonding material on there, which is basically like a filling material that we could put on there to fix and repair any chips or cracks, things like that. Sometimes for people who want a more durable, long-lasting, better-looking restoration, a veneer really works well. And I tell people a veneer, people sometimes get confused about these terms. A veneer basically is a thin shell of porcelain that's put on the front surface of the tooth to change the color and shape.
Right.
Okay. You could think of it like a partial crown, but for your front tooth. Okay. So it doesn't cover the entire tooth like a crown would, just the front surface. And they do a really nice job, and it really helps in situations where someone may have maybe not the most ideal positioning of the teeth. We can actually do a little bit of, I don't want to say orthodontics, but we can do a little bit of correction of the teeth to make them look straight. They may not be straight from the inside, but from the outside they appear to be straight. If it's a minor little crowding, things like that, to try to idealize things with veneers. So it's really nice in that respect.
And can it get complicated sometimes when we're talking about billing and how that people with insurance, that kind of thing, between just restorative and then cosmetic kind of thing too? Because it's like, well, I'd like to fix this, but it's not really a necessity.
Yeah, sometimes it can be. I always welcome patients to come in for a no-charge consultation to my office so we could discuss what's going on with them specifically. My front office is always happy to do pre-authorizations with the insurance to find out exactly what kind of coverage there may be. Because sometimes someone may think it's fully cosmetic. Well, in actuality, there may be a chip or a crack, and we can actually get some sort of coverage for them. It may not be 100%, but we'll get something for them to try to maximize their benefits for sure. So,
as we age, as our audience here gets a little older, what are some of the more common things we see in teeth, just because of the fact that we're all getting older and most people are keeping their teeth? We don't have people with dentures as much as we used to.
Yeah. So the biggest, there's two real big things that I see in our 50 plus, 55 plus population. I tend to see more gum disease or periodontal disease. Basically, that means that the bone that supports the teeth is kind of shrinking away from the tooth itself. I tell people, think of your tooth like a tree. Think of your roots of a tree like the roots of your tooth, and the bone is kind of like the soil there. And imagine someone taking a shovel and digging around that tree and basically taking away that soil. That's what periodontal disease basically is. It's the loss of bone from around the tooth. So we tend to see that, and that's totally preventable. Someone coming in for routine cleanings really helps with that. Getting all those deposits from underneath the gum, and of course home care plays a big role. The second most common thing I see is cavities along the gum line. I've talked about this before in a previous show I was on, but cavities along the gum line is a lot more common because as we get older, we tend to be on some more medications, number one. And secondly, our saliva glands may not be working quite as well. So a little more dry mouth. And so we tend to develop cavities along the gum line a little bit more prevalently. And that's just another issue we tend to see.
And then that's where restorative dentistry comes in there.
Absolutely.
Now, when you do that, how well can you match? Because on the top of my tooth, I have a cavity, and you do the restorative dentistry. Maybe it's a little off color, but that's not such a big deal. But sometimes vanity, or I have a white spot here, or a white spot there, because of this. The restorative part went in the front of the tooth.
Yeah. So we have number of shades and things like that. Materials have gotten so much better over the years, where they create this chameleon effect. They disappear practically.
Really?
Yeah. So they look just like normal tooth structure once it's all done. Even some dentists would have a hard time looking in there saying, oh, where's the, trying to outline where the filling is. They really do nicely to blend in really nicely.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when people come in and are you in pain usually when you have a cracked tooth, or is it a point of it has to get to the nerve and kind of really in trouble?
I tell people most dental problems don't have any pain to begin with. I tell them it's kind of like high cholesterol. You don't feel high cholesterol. You don't know you have high cholesterol. unless it's too late, right? That's when that you start to feel. That's when you start getting heart pain and chest pain, things like that. Same thing with dental problems, cavities, cracks. When they're starting in the early stages, they're completely asymptomatic. There's no symptoms at all. It's when they've progressed and gotten worse, that's when they get close to the nerve. That's when pain tends to set in. Oftentimes at that point, things have gotten to the point where we're talking about maybe doing a root canal or maybe even pulling the tooth at that stage. So that's why I encourage patients, please go to your dentist. Please go in regularly because—
I was going to say regular checks.
Regular checks. That's why we do regular checks. A lot of people end up saying, well, nothing's hurting me, nothing's bothering me, I don't need to go see a dentist. That's the furthest thing from the truth because these problems are underlying and happening, can be easily treated early on rather than waiting for the situation to get worse.
Do you see a lot of, like with the new technology, everybody has the electric toothbrush, everybody has all these things. Can those kind of do damage if we're pressing too hard against, especially on the gum lines? I know that's one of those sensitive, most of the brush away from the gums I was taught as a kid, Yeah,
so most of the electric toothbrushes now have sensors built in so people can't brush too hard.
Oh, okay.
The other thing about the electric toothbrushes is most of them have soft bristles, which is really helpful. So I encourage people to use electric toothbrushes.
Oh,
They work quite nicely. For people using manual toothbrushes, great as well. I personally use a manual. Making sure it's using a soft bristle brush, that's number one. The medium and firm bristles are too damaging to our gum line and to the root surface, especially as we get older, have a little bit of that periodontal disease, a little gum recession, it can create some damage. The other issue that I tend to see is people using a lot of those whitening toothpastes. Really abrasive, really aggressive toothpaste. People don't think much of it, but basically what they throw in the toothpaste is a fine sand that basically acts as almost like sandpaper on the gum line of our teeth and creates these kind of grooves or notches. A lot of people feel that with their fingernail, like what's this kind of this notch up at the gum line, down the gum line or up at the gum line that I feel? It's the abrasion from the toothpaste or toothbrush that's actually worn away the tooth structure.
Oh, wow.
So so those can cause damage long term as well.
Cautionary tales right there. All right, folks. A little bit of prevention, a little bit of restorative. Thank you, Dr. Abbas, for coming in today. Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure,
You're watching ThisDay. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We've got our Saturday movie for you, and it's a classic. It is To Sir with Love, starring Sidney Poitier. Came out in 1967. I've never actually seen this movie. I know it's a classic. I need to get to it. 2 p.m. with the subtitles, 6 p.m. without the subtitles, and it's brought to us by Hoag Orthopedic Institute. An idealistic yet unemployed Black American engineer graduate, Mark Thackeray, takes on a temporary position teaching a group of rambunctious white high school students in London's East End slum neighborhood. To Sir with Love. That is going to be our Saturday movie. All right, let's take a quick check of the forecast before we head out. And we got some nice temperatures for today. Going to be in the upper 70s today, and then we go back into the 80s for the foreseeable future as we start temperatures ticking up just a little bit on Sunday, then Monday, then Tuesday, and then look at that, almost 90 degrees on Wednesday. So we've got some warm temperatures on the way. So get out and enjoy today. It's going to be the coolest day for a little while now. All right, folks, Monday on the program, we're going to be welcoming the Democratic Club and Broadway Music Lovers Club as well. And I'll be here, so there you go. That's going to do it for this edition of ThisDay. For all of us here at Village Television, we hope you make this day a great one.